Thank you. We also engaged the community throughout all of this and had a very active participatory program while we were doing all the science. We invited them out to come watch us as we did our field days. You can see here we had several field days and meetings that we actually invited them to come to and participate in events. We also went to some of their events, the Family Fishing Day, and some of their local meetings to find out what they were talking about and how they use the lake. This is kind of a summary of the public participation process that we used. We engaged them in meetings, but before that, we even started engaging them in interviews. We interviewed about 15 people, found out how they use the lake and what's the most important part of Lake Marion to them, as well as uncovering a diverse history. And that's how we were able to piece some of the things such as the seepage and the clay layer and really get into that kind of investigation. We also went to several events, their Family Fishing Day and some of the community meetings that they had. We held a field day after we had 2 or 3 meetings there on our own to get a lot of their public input. We had surveys where they were able to give kind of some answers to some of the questions that we were wanting to know. We engaged them in a visioning exercise to get their a summary of what they do in the past, how they have used that area in the past, and where would they like to see it move to the future. And then we engaged in a mapping workshop throughout the summer to get their ideas and actually get them drawing what they'd like to see Lake Marion look like in the future. And so I'm going to summarize some of the things that we did with them and some of the results of that. The first thing we did at our first meeting, which was in February of last year, or March of last year, we engaged them in a visioning exercise where we asked them what are their fondest memories and how they would like to see the lake developed or stay natural in the future. We found the strong family ties to the lake, just enjoying it for recreation, and also they just wanted to promote the public awareness and make it more of a regional destination. We took their comments and converted them into, encoded them, and really found out that most of the people are concerned about recreation and continuing recreation into the future. But also, they're concerned about the personal value of Lake Marion and wildlife habitat. And also the health and cleanliness, which comes back to the geese and the native habitat that exists out there. We also conducted a survey, which we circulated at the meetings and online, and found out a few answers to some specific questions. On top of finding out how they use the lake, we asked them what they would support goose management at the lake. And obviously you can see that a lot of people were in support of managing the goose population because it really inhibits the use because of the health and cleanliness of the lake. Also, we asked them if they would like to see some more natural vegetation planted around the lake to kind of help with, to promote some diversity in wildlife habitat and other things. And you can see here that they also very strongly supported that as well. We also circulated a photo survey as part of our survey results as well. Had them comment on what they like about the photos and the dislikes of that. So we had 8 photos in total, and we had the comments from all that in our report. We found out that they really like trails and they really want to connect the area, but they also want to keep it very natural. They want to promote that shoreline buffer you can see here, but also they don't like concrete trails and paths. They would like mowed paths and other things like that. So just trying to figure out their personal preferences by using photos, that was a big deal for developing the recommendations that we came up with. One of the big things that we did with the community, and which guided probably our process for developing the recommendations and the location of those recommendations, was our charrette, or a mapping exercise. We sat down with the community and had them draw what they'd like to see happen at the lake, where they use the lake right now, and where they'd like to see future uses developed. We took all of this data and compiled it into this, all these 12 maps that we got from them, and compiled them into this one map, which we used throughout our process. We sat down at our weekly meetings and engaged in our own little mapping exercises and charrettes, and eventually turned them into some diagrams and some future opportunities that we turned over to the village, and you'll see those a little bit later. But right now I'm going to summarize just their comments. They wanted to maintain the existing uses, add trail connections, improve the wildlife habitat, especially around those ponds here in the south. They wanted to add more fishing areas and improve the access, and also just a general trend of keeping it very natural, not too much development, and just really keeping it a regional destination for the wildlife habitat that's pretty prevalent in the area. This is zoomed in on Lake Marion, so I'm going to walk through that first. They wanted to maintain the current and existing uses out there, and so we decided to respect those as well. A lot of the activity is focused along Highway KP and along the levee here. They also wanted to add trails to connect everything within Lake Marion and also connect to downtown Mesa and across the creek here. They also wanted to add additional fishing areas by maybe dredging the lake and building up some of those areas along the railroad corridor, and really promote those areas and let people get closer to the water to really engage in that fishing. Also preserving the open lawn areas and keeping some areas for passive recreation so the kids and families can get out there and really engage in those activities they already use those areas for. Also keeping areas along the railroad and along some of the levees, more natural vegetation to add to that wildlife habitat diversity, and also deter the geese population out there. And then add some additional parking areas which will promote, access. People now pull off into the lawn areas and really cause some damage over there when it rains and other things. So adding these parking areas will really promote better access and let people not do as much damage to the environment as they're trying to access the lake. Next, focusing on the smaller ponds. This was an area where we saw a lot more comments about just keeping it natural and promoting wildlife habitat. They wanted to add some trails and keep it natural, and also connect to the other trail which would go along the other side of Black Earth Creek, and eventually off to the high school to the south, connect to the Wisconsin Heights High School, promote maybe a Rails to Trails or Safe Routes to School initiative using that. Add more fishing areas along the levee and into the creek area, so better access to the creek. Also keeping a lot of natural areas along the wooded area here to the south, and then over along the levees as well to deter geese and also promote wildlife habitat. And with that, really add some wildlife observation areas to promote that recreation and the serenity of the environment. And then add a public, or the picnic pavilion here on the levee that's a little bit more secluded from the traffic and other noise from Highway KP, and really give families an opportunity to get out in the Lake Marion environment and really engage in those recreation activities using some picnic areas. So as mentioned before, we synthesized all of this and really had a sort of a charrette, a mapping exercise of our own. We brought the community feedback with the surveys and the meetings and all the partnerships that we have developed throughout this entire process, and combined it with the science, the data, the CPID results, and other things to really form the basis for our recommendations. And here to present some more of the graphic, synthesis of those is Lauren Brown.
All right.